Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to another exciting episode on Solving the People Puzzle with me, your host, Franco here from Wamley. I'm so excited about today's in-person conversation. Farad, welcome to Wamley and to the Solving the People Puzzle.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here, and it's great to see you again.
Yeah,
So it's been a while.
it has been a while. We first met many months, years, I think, ago at Deloitte. 2 years. We were on a panel together. And I remember back then listening to you and to your business, and I was just so curious, so interested about what you do. But before we jump into that, maybe just please introduce yourself to the audience.
So my name is Farad Bayat. I'm one of the two co-founders of a company called Ferocian. We were founded in 2015, so we're getting close to 10 years now.
Wow.
It doesn't seem like it. Myself and my co-founder started the business thinking of different forms of background screening and how the background screening industry hasn't really evolved over the last 15, 20, 25 years.
Yes.
In terms of data, the speed of the data transmission has changed. So what we did was we started investigating and putting together proof of concept, which we rolled out, and that is conducting social and digital media screening on individuals.
Okay.
Pre-employment check as one of them.
Okay. And I can imagine, background screening is quite popular in South Africa. Most large organizations who hire have to do that at the end of the process. But before we get into maybe just back to the origin, like what started the idea of wanting to go digital and social media as opposed to just following the trend of drivers, crim, credits, ID, qualification? Where did that topic start?
So it's actually a really interesting question for the reason that our marketing team asked us, Sinead and myself, was my co-founder, to put out a soundbite, which she did yesterday on that exact question.
Okay.
But the sort of shortened version of the answer is, Sinead and I have been together in a relationship for over 10 years now. And when I first met her dad asked, well, what do you do for a living? So I explained to him at the time I was involved in skills development and education training.
Okay.
And he then asked me, how do I find clients? And I said, well, I work with recruitment agencies who have BPOs, because that's an easier route to market as opposed to approaching thousands of corporates.
Yes.
And he asked me a question and said he's always wondered, why do companies do CCMA checks?
Okay.
That's actually where it started. And I started investigating that as a business opportunity. I dealt with
So if someone has been to the CCMA, okay.
and because there's an open record of that, it's public domain information.
All right.
Right, so you can see if somebody has laid claims for unfair dismissal 5 times in 10 years, and that could be a red flag. Through discussions with someone at the CCMA, he's encouraged me to not go down that.
Okay.
And he said, find something else. Thought for months. Driving home from work one day, I hear an interview on 702 where they were interviewing someone by the name of Justine Saka.
Okay.
And most people won't be aware of who she is, but if I explain her situation, well, might remember. An American lady who came to South Africa on holiday, and she tweeted something as she was about to take off, and it was deemed and viewed as offensive and racist.
Ooh.
She was the marketing director of a medium-sized firm in the US, so you would think she would know better.
Yeah.
But this was in 2011.
Okay.
By the time she landed in Cape Town, she was fired, and she was the most hated woman on Twitter.
Oh, my word.
So 702 were interviewing her about how has this impacted her life. And this was in January, February 2015. She still didn't have a job.
3 years later.
That's
4 years later. Okay.
Where
One tweet.
during that drive, I realized social media activity can now have a consequence in terms of your professional reputation and future employment opportunities and income earning ability.
Yeah.
It further then, the idea went into my head to say, right, people do this in their personal life. Sinead and I had met maybe 6 months before. And I know she went through my Twitter, my Facebook, my LinkedIn. That was the one that confused me at the time. But she wanted to know, does he have a job? Is he stable? you bring about red flags and green flags.
Yes.
So all we did was we said, right, there has to be a set of red flags and green flags from the employment perspective. And we built a product to highlight that for.
Which is Feroge. Okay, so if the audience listening to this now goes, all right, social media screening, let's unpack the what. You mentioned Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So I'm assuming there are profiles and domains that people are on that your product trawls, screens. Can you unpack the how?
So the way we operate, which is different to our competitors overseas, we operate under the guise of highlighting, first of all, the full picture.
Okay.
We don't believe it's ethical to only highlight the red flags or the negatives of an individual, because a person is the sum of all of their parts, not just what they've done wrong. Right? Every single negative report we've ever done, there are positives about it.
Yes, the green flags.
And our process doesn't include stating employ, don't employ, retain, or fire.
Okay.
It's saying, here's information, make a decision.
You make your decision.
Correct.
Yes.
So our process makes use of what we call a hybrid system, where we make use of various technologies, RPA, AI, machine learning, various forms of automation.
Okay.
But we also have a human element involved in it, because AI is only at the point where it's not able to make discerning decision making in terms of context. AI is not able to gauge satire or mean humor,
Sarcasm. Yeah.
Right. So we have a team of anthropologists. We exclusively hire anthropologists who work in this
Interesting.
department. They're trained to be impartial and objective.
Okay.
They are trained to uncover the why. So we go through this process of matching people on profiles. We live in an age where younger millennials and Gen Zs go under different profile names. The funniest one I've seen on Instagram was Flower Power Child 361. Their names aren't even on their profiles.
Yeah.
So how do you find them? We've just built our own recipe.
Okay.
So to say of how
To uncover.
correct.
Okay.
And the automation will assist in the matching. It will assist in the extraction, and this is very important, public domain content.
Okay.
So if it's an ethical screening provider who is in the social media realm, they will not be sending friend requests. They will not be hacking your accounts. They will not be accessing the DMs. And for anybody listening, we cannot see your Google search history. Only Google can see that. We don't look at your WhatsApp because that's not actually social media. That's a peer-to-peer messaging system.
Okay.
So we exclusively look at the public domain.
Because that was my first, and I assume audience question immediately is ethics versus consent. We now at Whamley provide background check as part of the video interview process or the hiring process, and there's a massive emphasis on consent. Is it similar with social media screening where you have to obtain the consent?
100%.
Okay, so let's put that in bed.
Just like a criminal check, credit check, qualification, doesn't matter.
And so now the consent is given, you have your technology, it goes and looks at the publicly available information of me, and then it does a match, and it gives the red and the green flags.
Correct. So we actually look at 3 categories or buckets of content.
Okay.
We look at the positive, we look at the negative. Unfortunately, most employers are only interested in the negative.
Correct.
And then we look at the neutral, because the neutral is where you can add value through a potential value culture match between an individual and an organization.
Okay.
You know, for instance, it's the subtleties. People who are involved in highly disciplined activities, something like bodybuilding, that requires paying attention to your eating, your sleeping, your trading, consistency. And it's not something that happens over a week or a month.
Yes.
It happens over years, decades.
A lot of discipline, perseverance.
Highlighting, considering those things, of saying that there's a strong interest in health and fitness, participation in sports, participation in playing pool, emphasis on family, friends, and relationships. Things such as positive network engagement. not displaying highly reactive behavior,
Yes.
which we see all the time.
Yes.
Facebook, Twitter, wherever it may be, of you read a post of someone in your network, you don't agree with it,
You react.
you react and start swearing and abusive,
Becoming emotional.
all of these things. That can translate to a face-to-face interaction with people or a internal interaction from a business perspective. So we look at those three buckets to assist with providing as much information as possible
Yeah.
to make an informed decision.
Okay.
Because we live in a world where the coin phrase is data-driven decision-making.
Yes.
This is qualitative information that we are converting into quantitative data.
Okay. I love that you go down the decision route, because right across the hiring journey, the recruitment funnel, the recruitment sales cycle, whatever you, life cycle, we have to make decisions, right? And to try and fairly differentiate between people to make the yay or nay decision. And there are traditional, typically used methods, looking at a CV, an interview, and then there are more technology-driven, like WAMLY, video interview, psychometric assessments. The background checks are often a gatekeeper at the very end, a sense check, a tick box. I have to do this because it's law. We spoke about the financial services industry at the moment and the FICA, FIC requirement. But when I listen to you around this, the qualitative information around understanding human behavior and then trying to predict and understand contextually what Francois might do if I bring him into my workforce is fascinating. Because ultimately that is what the hiring journey is about, is can I start predicting what Francois will do if I do hire him? Will he perform? Will he fit into the culture? Will he match my team's environment? Will he fit into the values? Will people like him? There's often this conversation around competence versus culture fit and personality versus ability. And again, like when I listen to this and I think of social media screening in the world of making data-driven selection decisions, I think enriching that decision-making with data like this can be so powerful. I guess the trick becomes, what does good look like for you as the organization? Because out of context, any sort of post can be deemed or viewed in the incorrect light, right?
So you've got a very unique situation with social media as an industry or as a space and the screening side of it. I'll never forget, there was a meme doing the rounds 6-8 years ago. And the meme was a picture of Donald Trump on the one side and a picture of Barack Obama on the other side. And there was a caption above and below both of them. And it said, different interpretations, right? Above the one person, or both people, it says, and I apologize for using profanities, but it was what was in the meme. It says, when you know your shit, and when you know your shit.
Mm-hmm.
Two entirely different meanings dependent on context.
Correct.
So our process also involves, and an ethical process involves, what is the intention behind the post? And what is the perceived interpretation behind the post? Because there's a significant difference between the two.
Yes.
So coming to grips with that becomes very, very, very important. Depending on somebody's mindset, the time of the month, time of the day, if they had a fight with their husband or wife, and we were talking about your previous offices, you used to spend hours in traffic every day.
Yeah.
You might not be in a good mood when you get to the office.
Yeah.
And then you do social media screen yourself, subjectively, relatively, and you can view something and you've got an entirely different perception.
Yeah.
Hence why we use a team of trained anthropologists who remain objective. And then you have a set of standards associated with it as well. So the interpretation becomes a very big problem. And that's also why we use the hybrid model on the one side of the business, because can we ensure that AI has the ability and the natural language processing ability to differentiate between any situation? Okay.
Yes.
It's very
difficult. I want to take you back to something interesting you said around context and insights. I guess there's a big responsibility on a business like yours and competitors doing this to deliver the results in a line manager friendly or an HR friendly way, to not do harm with it, but actually get the intended information back in a way that makes sense for the decision that needs to be made?
It's very tricky. We actually have to change our process slightly, depending on which country we're providing the report on. Because you've got a legislative aspect as well.
Yes.
So in South Africa, we have certain categories that are considered personal or protected information: pregnancy status, religious belief system, political affiliation.
Can't report on that.
We don't report on that.
Okay.
We will never include anything that divulges somebody's sexual orientation, somebody's pregnancy status,
Yes.
because we all know it's illegal to ask that question.
Correct.
So that's one thing that you have to look at. Whereas some of our work, or all of our work consumed in the United States, there's a different set of regulations that we have to adhere to, coupled with the fact in the United States we can only look at information going back 7 years.
Okay.
There's a time frame there. In South Africa, there's no restriction in terms of
Okay, so you can go back.
we can go back as far as we would like. So to get the right context of the inclusions and the exclusions, we have to be very cognizant and start with the legislative aspects in terms of the area of consumption of it.
Yeah.
That guides our process. We also have to consider things like the Constitution, the recently published Hate Crimes Bill, the Cyber Crimes Act, Road Traffic Management Act, Film and Publications Act.
Sure.
There are numerous bits of legislation that fall within our realm.
Yeah.
Because somebody can breach the Road Traffic Management Act through social media. We saw it during lockdown. You may remember the guy who was driving his Audi TT RS that posted a video and went viral.
I remember.
He was tracked down through his social media by the police to a funeral in Limpopo and was arrested. Because he provided his own video evidence of his criminal activity.
Yeah.
So you can get information relating to criminal activity where there's no conviction because it hasn't got through a court process.
Yes.
So there's a wide scope of area that can be covered in terms of what is uncovered. Right?
If we double click on the benefits of this, right? We have thousands of listeners who might be hearing about this for the very first time. And I'm hoping that we address the objections around consent and what you can and cannot access. But what's the benefit or the positive around this, right? Because it could very quickly be interpreted as police coming to find the bad in me and display that to my future employer, and me ending up like that woman not getting a job. But surely there's a correlation and benefits around this.
100% there is. So I'll start with maybe putting people's minds at ease a little bit further. If it's done with us, we don't care, and we're not going to report on if you get drunk on a Thursday night, or if you have a beer on a Friday night, or at the rugby or whatever. That's none of our business. Everyone's allowed to indulge.
Yeah.
But in terms of a correlation, yes, we've written 2 white papers.
Okay.
For 2 large projects that we undertook. The one was a 5-year recruitment white paper that we wrote. We screened people when they gave us consent to monitor them, and their employer gave us consent, where they gave consent for the employer to provide us with HR before its data back.
Okay.
And we did this over a 5-year period. And what we found was this. In total, there were 9,608 people as part of this project. And the overarching consensus is lower risk people have higher KPI scores, less complaints against them, take less sick days. Their retention time in the organization is higher. And I know some people may say, but that depends on position, industry. We segmented it. Okay. We looked at C-level. C-level was actually had one category that was out of line, which is there were more complaints against the low-risk C-level people who came in. Mm-hmm. And what we've been told, and we believe that reason is that those people who have come in have shaken up the organization. So everybody below sea level has complained about that.
Okay.
We looked at call centers, interesting call center agents, lower risk call center agents. The average retention time of a call center agent is between 2 and 3 months if you're lucky.
Sure.
It improved to 13 months
Wow.
just by looking
At the low risk individual.
the other end of it. We formed a gig economy, specifically or more focusing on e-hailing drivers. And one of the very interesting things we found is 90% of e-hailing drivers drink and drive
Themselves.
and they post video content about it.
Wow.
Engage in drug use, drug distribution, pornography. 2 of them, and I know it's a very low number, out of 40,000, 2 of them child pornography.
Sure.
Now, if you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer and say, I don't want an e-hailing driver who drinks and drives.
Yeah.
Now put yourself in an employee's shoes.
Yes.
So there's a direct correlation. Lower risk people perform better, have a higher retention rate, less complaints, higher performance.
Stunning. Which again makes so much sense for me to look at this as an option, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do when we bring in people. But then once our employees are part of the organization, we want to retain them and we want them to perform well. And so as social media screening becomes more popular, this is an addition to the tool in a toolbox to help you make better hiring decisions.
Hiring decisions, but also managing decisions in regards to people, because now you have insight into that individual's behaviors, activities, perspectives. Maybe you're struggling to bond with or build a relationship with a subordinate or a superior, a manager. People do this, as I said, in their personal capacity, right? Where they're looking in people going, oh, I like this person or this, specifically when it comes to dates. So now you are better able to manage by identifying behaviors that an individual has by having social media screening as a pre-employment check of going, oh, this person, they love the Premier League, they support this team, so we can have something in common over that. And, it'll help foster our relationship, which may help me mentor them better or guide them better as a manager.
I think while I'm listening to you, I'm considering the potential hesitancy and objection from individuals, employees, to want to put themselves through this. And then my mind goes to, well, that's just basically conditioning, the conditioning of the human mind to want to protect what is perceived to be personal. But the mere fact that we are all out there online with digital profiles across multiple channels, it's not that personal and private out there anymore, right?
As you say, by opening up a profile, you are giving that away.
You're inviting the world in.
One thing I've noticed since the introduction and traction of social media is most people who utilize it have a form of exhibitionism and voyeurism at the same time. We like to check people's stories on Instagram, even though we don't comment.
Yes.
We like to see what someone's posting on LinkedIn, or an interesting article.
Yes.
So we don't comment. But we also want to post something on LinkedIn or Instagram and get likes.
And get that gratification.
Correct.
Yes.
So we have these dual sets of characteristics of being voyeurs and exhibitionists at the same time. When you enter this realm, unfortunately, you don't have the option of choosing what is consumed and what is not consumed, what is looked at and what is not looked at, outside of your privacy. It's similar to what people say about politicians or celebrities. Oh, but they chose this line of work, so we're allowed to see into their lives.
Yes.
Well, we've chosen to open an Instagram account that's open to the public, and anyone can view our content.
Yeah.
So we should also take with it the consequences as well as the benefits for us personally and professionally.
I want to close with a thought and a question that I specifically had for our episode today, and that is this concept of work-life balance, work being work, my personal life being my personal life, and now mixing the two to make world of work decisions. What is your take on that, and what is the market saying and your clients saying around this part of the conversation that goes, oh no, my Instagram's private, but now you're using that to make decisions or look at me?
So my thoughts are very simple. It actually goes back to before social media. the introduction of cell phones, that's where it ended, not social media. Okay. That's when the work and the personal life became one because of contactability and availability.
Yes.
Now, when people say things like, my Instagram is mine, okay, it is yours.
Yeah.
But you also have a legal responsibility, according to the Film and Publications Act, to set your privacy settings to determine what is in the public domain, what is key. Same as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever it may be. Even in the case of, this is a big trend that we've seen over the last 3 years. A number of South African OnlyFans content creators, and sex work in South Africa is illegal, so again, that is a crime.
Yeah.
If you don't want it to be there, don't be there.
Yes.
It's really, really that simple. But you can also manage it, be authentic about your behaviors and activities. Our simple rule, and my simple rule is, if you're not willing to stand on a stage in front of 1 million people and say it, demonstrate it, don't engage with it or post it on social media.
Yeah.
Because it will come out.
Yeah.
Even if you have high privacy settings, those in your network can screenshot it
and send it all.
Send it out.
I completely agree with you. I think this idea that we are separate humans, depending on the context, has changed. It maybe it's always been like this, and then technology and COVID and work from home and hybrid models. It's just exactly. It's exponentially exposed the integration. And I mean, I've had podcasts where we speak about work-life harmony, work-life integration, because there is no work-life balance anymore. And so we are holistic humans. And, if you go to the principles of personality and who we are as humans, our preference, that where we get our energy, it seldomly changes. Like we kind of are who we are. And I'd much rather holistically look at a human and then make an informed decision than be surprised down the line. And then back to your research and your white papers, retention, performance, low and high risk behavior, the correlations with all of this. I agree. I think this is a fantastic addition to making informed decisions. What would you like to leave the audience with?
Going back to my golden rule, if you're not prepared to get on the stage and say it or demonstrate it,
don't post it.
Don't post it.
Yeah.
And that goes for bikini pictures, gym pictures, or in your underwear, guys who want to show off your six packs.
Yeah.
Don't post it. Think before you post.
Yeah.
It's just a space where it's moved so quickly that we haven't had an opportunity to be taught the etiquette in it.
Yes.
So a part of our purpose is to teach everyone that.
And that is the purpose of this episode, is to bring the audience insights into something that is relatively new. I mean, you've been going at it for 10 years, but we seldomly have sat in conversations with our clients where they ask for this, right? So I guess it's still gaining traction here in South Africa, and the pod, I'm hoping, will create some insight for the audience around what it is, what it does, what it doesn't do, insights to employees and employers. So thank you so much for your insight and your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the pod with me.
Thank you so much. It was great being here.
Fantastic. Have a nice day, guys.